So today I'm going to talk about something a little different. This video is pretty special to me because I get to talk about my friend. So first of all, I saw this skirt pattern called La Boheme. I think that's how you pronounce it because that's how you say the opera. I think that's the name of it, by Puccini, that I saw in New York one time. Anyway, so it's La Boheme and it's by Vanessa Pouzet. The pattern is in French. So this skirt took a lot of Google Translate and the diagrams are really good, so I use those as well. And the pattern itself is not that difficult, so you can kind of figure it out anyways. But let me begin by saying that the reason I get to talk about my friend is because I put on my Instagram stories a little story about how I was obsessed with this fabric from Sewing Studio and how I could envision it in this new pattern from Vanessa Pouzet, the La Boheme skirt. I put a picture of the pattern, and like, I don't know, a couple of minutes later, she messaged me, she being Carlene from Sewing Studio. Actually, the Instagram name is at PDX Sewing Studio. And she messaged me and was like, hey, I'll send you some. And I was like, haha, that's funny. And she was like, no, really? And I was like, what? Okay. So I told her how much I needed. And I made a mistake because I didn't realize that it was only like 41 inches wide. So, and after you wash it, it's about 39. So you need, the fabric you need, I'm just going right into fabric choice, aren't I? So the fabric you need has to be about 55 inches wide or 140 centimeters. And that's because the pieces are so wide and you cut them out on a single layer. I was able to cut out the pieces, but I couldn't put them like next to each other like you can a little bit if the fabric is wide enough. And so I actually needed, instead of 3.5 yards, I needed 5 yards. I was just like, I'm so sorry, I need more fabric. So, because I told her I needed 3.5, and so she sent me 1.5 yards more because she's awesome. And so that I can make my skirt. So you need about 5 yards if your fabric isn't very wide, but if it's wide enough, you just need about 3.5. So the fabric that I used, it was this fabric on her website. I believe I will put this description of what it is above, but it's this beautiful copper color. Oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. And I just love the flowers. I believe she still has some on her website, but it's been selling out, so you need to go get some right now. Don't think about it too long, okay? And I really enjoyed making it with this because it was drapey and it looks so beautiful on, so I really think this is a good fabric choice. I think for this skirt, you can do anything drapey, viscose, a lightweight linen, crepe, bubble crepe, voile even. Just make sure it's not too see-through. Make sure it's a little bit opaque because, otherwise you'll have to line it or underline it. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty good choice to use this, and just anything drapey would be great. Little note about Carlene from Sewing Studio. I really loved being able to take the opportunity to talk about her and her store over the last couple of months, or probably year maybe now. We've talked on Instagram every now and then, and she comments on my pictures and I comment on hers, and we have like inside jokes through Instagram Messenger that we've developed over the years. Over the months. She's just super sweet, and I love shopping from her. She has good prices, she has good fabric, and she is just so down to earth and genuine, and I don't know, she just builds a really good relationship with her customers, and I really like that. And I do have a lot of fabric stores that I love, so she is not the only one, and there are a lot of other fabric stores that are the same. But I feel really close to her because we just talk all the time. So I was just like, yes, I would love to talk about you. Not that she asked me. She didn't ask me to talk about anything or advertise anything. She just sent me fabric. But Of course, that makes me want to brag on her. So I love her to death, and I was so excited to make something out of her fabric. It's so beautiful. So anyways, that's it about the fabric and about her shop. I'll put all the links to how you can find her below. So the pattern layout for this is a little bit strange. There's a nice picture on the instructions. And I know that Vanessa is going to change, she's going to translate the instructions into English, but she just hasn't done it yet. She does have some English patterns on her website that are really pretty. But the pattern layout is a clearer picture, and it's super easy. So you just, follow the picture. It shows how you put the pattern piece down on the fabric, but then when you do the other piece, you've got to turn it wrong way down. Right side down. So you've got to do a mirror image of the pattern piece, which is not that hard to understand. So the only problem I had, because my fabric wasn't very wide, was that there are 2 waistband pieces that you're supposed to cut out that are the width of the fabric, which is pretty much 55 inches, and I think it's supposed to be about 10 inches tall. And so, 10 centimeters tall. So I think it's about 2.5 inches maybe. So you're supposed to cut out 2 of those, and then depending on your size, she has an extra length that you need to cut out that's kind of sandwiched in the middle of those 2 long pieces. And she puts that on her instructions. But I didn't have 55-inch wide fabric. So basically what I did is I took the total amount in inches of fabric of the waistband that I needed, and I just divided it by the width of my fabric, which is about 40 inches, and it told me I needed to cut out 3 pieces basically. So I cut out 3 pieces of equal length, and then I just sewed them together. And it's all wrapped around the waist, so you can't really see seam lines. It's not super obvious, so that didn't really bother me. I didn't have any issues. That was my only thing that I had to change. That kind of goes into modifications as well, and that's really all I modified as far as the pattern pieces and how I cut them out and everything. I didn't change anything. I didn't lengthen anything or shorten anything. She does explain in her pattern how you can lengthen the skirt if you think it's going to need to be longer. The pattern construction is kind of exciting because it's kind of where I went rogue because this fabric is so drapey, and it just, not that drapey fabric can't press, but this fabric in particular, I knew it wouldn't press very well. It wouldn't stick, so I didn't want to do I didn't think it would do a good hem where you press it under and press it under again. And then I thought about just serging the end and then pressing that under, but I didn't want to see, I knew this fabric was really floaty and it pop up a little bit, and I didn't want to see my serger stitches on the underside. So, and then I also remembered, how fabric like this is really good with narrow hems or rolled hems. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna experiment with my serger, and I'm gonna overcome my fear, and I'm gonna learn how to do a rolled hem on my serger, because I've never done one on this serger. I did one on my old serger, but on this one it's super easy on my Baby Lock. It's a Baby Lock Eclipse. Basically you just change the lower looper tension to be a lot tighter. I did a 7 or 8. And then you change the stitch length, so all the stitches are a lot closer together to really protect the fabric and keep it kind of finish the edge, I guess you could say, really well and really tight. And then I think I kept my stitch width about the same because it was a pretty good width, but your manual should explain how to do a rolled hem really well. Mine did, and my last serger manual did as well. Sometimes with my last serger, I think I had a Brother 1034D, I had to remove something called the stitch finger to do a rolled hem. On my Baby Lock, I don't have to because everything is automatic. It's so amazing. I love it. It's actually the lowest, I think the lowest or the cheapest version of this line of Baby Locks. I think it was just a little over $1,000. It's a huge investment, but it's been so amazing. But my first serger I think was like 150 bucks or something on Amazon. And that lasted me and did a really good job for a long time. But I did have to remove a stitch finger, and it shows you how to do that in the manual to do the rolled hem. But basically I thought a rolled hem would be really nice because I wouldn't see anything on the underside. And tightening the lower looper basically just helps your fabric roll to the underside, which helps it be a rolled hem. And then I didn't change my differential feed, which can kind of either stretch your fabric out or make it more gathered. But I could have changed it to like make it stretch my fabric, and then it would have been more of like a lettuce hem, where it would have like been a little more wavy. But I tested it out and I thought it made it wavy enough, and I really like how it gives structure to the hem and kind of like makes it more stiff. And so it just like, instead of like just falling, it kind of like sticks out a little bit. And so I was really happy with myself, and I went rogue and I did something really cool. I went ahead and finished that, let's see, at the end of my ruffle, you just have a little bit of skirt left until you get to the waistband. And so I went ahead and did the rolled hem like all the way up, just so I could have like the same thing going on, and I didn't want to have to like hem it and turn it under. So I went ahead and did that. And then the only other thing that I changed was, oh, let me say real quick, where I attached the ruffle to the main body of the skirt, I kind of did another rolled hem thing because I didn't want like a giant seam allowance like flopping around in there, and I wanted it to be like really nice, so I just kind of did that as well. Of note, I forgot to mention, if you do a rolled hem, you're essentially, if you do it on the very edge, you're not removing the seam allowance. It does have a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and so I kind of, as I serged the roll hem, I was cutting off like 3/8 of an inch. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so the only other change I made was the waistband. The way she did the waistband was fine. Like it's totally a proper way to do it. But she basically sewed, this is my right side. She sewed the waistband, the outer waistband, right sides together to the skirt. And then she folded that up. And then she wanted you to iron the seam allowance down on the inner waistband, and then just kind of like fold this together, and then sew all the way around the edge. So you're basically like tucking the seam allowances under and folding it together and sewing all around it. Hi, George. And at that time.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. You can be right back in a little bit. All right. So back to what I was saying. So what I did for the waistband was I did it kind of how I do all waistbands, and I went ahead and attached right side to right side the outer waistband to the skirt. And then I folded it over. I folded it back with right sides together, and I basically sewed along the entire length of the tie here and on the other side as well. And then I didn't sew my inner waistband down yet, so that's a way where you can turn these pieces right side out. You can turn this one right side out with a turning tool, and that way I didn't have to worry about folding in the seam allowances, because again, this fabric didn't press like super well, and so I didn't have to worry about doing the hem, the 3/8 of an inch hem, and then folding it down and just sewing on the outside. That being said, it was kind of extra steps because I still ended up top stitching around the whole thing, so just so it would stay how I wanted it to stay. So I think it was a little bit extra, but I preferred to do it that way. And then when I folded the the inner waistband down. I did it how I normally do waistbands, which I explain it really well in my red culottes video. But I folded it a little bit past the inner waistband, the seam allowance on the inside just to cover it. And then I stitched in the ditch from the right side using a lot of pins on the inside, and I just sewed over my pins. So that's kind of how I did that. I also waited, and this kind of goes into fit. The fit for this is really easy and simple. I waited to do the buttonhole in the waistband until I tried it on and decided which way was going to cross over what side, and I wanted to know exactly where I wanted my strand to insert, and so I basically like put it on, like held it where I wanted it to go, and then I pinned it, and then I took it off and put my buttonhole there. So that's how I did that. Also, I wanted to say that I knew my fabric was really lightweight. Now, she didn't say in her pattern to do this, but I went ahead and added some interfacing to the waistband, and I just did like a little strip because I didn't want to do the whole thing and like have it folded over. So I just did enough to do like one side of the waistband, and then the folded over part I didn't have anything. So I basically put it on the outer waistband part. I mean, it's all just like one strip, but when I say inner and outer waistband, I mean like one half of it's going to be on the inside and the other half's going to be on the outside because you're going to fold it over. So it's not two separate pieces, but it's just, that's how I'm thinking of it because it's folding over. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I talked about the pattern fit and styling. So I have a couple of pictures, but with like tall boots and like a long sleeve shirt and like a hat, so you can wear it kind of more in the fall winter season. And then you can also wear this with, you know, bare feet and like a super relaxed camisole or linen shirt, much like this one. You know, if you want to do that as well, because it's just so romantic. It's such a romantic skirt. I love it. That's basically it. And a quick little note, in all of my videos, so far, I'm wearing something that I've made. So if you have any questions about what it is, or what pattern it is, or the fabric or anything, you can always ask me. And this one is a common stitch pattern. I think it's the Bellbird blouse. I made it last year and I love it. It's super cool. And it's made out of linen, some striped linen. I don't remember where I got the fabric, but so yeah, ask me anything about that anytime. And that's a good segue into the fact that this video is pretty much done. So if you like it, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified when I have another video. Ask me any questions, as I've already said like 1,000 times. Give me any suggestions, any videos you want to see, or anything else you want me to talk about. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye. Yes. And that's
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.